Morning, everybody, or hello and welcome for whatever time frame you are watching from right now. I had a meeting this morning. I had to wake up at 5:30 to get in the meeting at 6 because it turned out it was a meeting with folks from the UK overseas. And for them, like a couple of them, like, I got to go pick up my kids from school, so I got to bail real quick. And I'm like,
That's weird. That's weird to hear. I mean, obviously it's, just time
right,
zones.
that's
It's
how it
nothing
works, but
weird.
it's still
It's just so
weird.
weird to hear.
Have you ever heard of the universal time zone idea
One time zone for the whole universe?
for the whole planet? Yeah,
No, that
that
doesn't. So you'd need to train people on different, like people just need to alter their sleep patterns. Is that how that works?
no, because you would just sleep from like it would be a 2400 clock, and it would
But some people would just be awake during
yeah
without the sun.
no because they wouldn't work at the same time. They would sleep from 11 to 19. You would sleep from 15, to 3 or whatever the logic would that be. Like,
Six,
yeah, but that
five.
way you would just say, hey, the meeting's at 12. Who can make it?
I
And
don't. It doesn't really feel like it would work very well.
no, I've heard of this before, and like I know some people who like greatly support this, but for me, the big hitch would be things like today, where if you just said the meeting's at 12, some people can say that's very early for me, but there's no relative time to how early that is. Like if you just
Yeah,
say that's 3 hours before I normally wake up, that could be like, well, then wake up. Like stop sleeping in so much. You don't know what that means. But if,
it would solve no problems. It
right.
would do nothing. Nothing would change. It
Well,
would just,
the only problem it would solve would be that we wouldn't have to deal with time zones, like 3 hours later, 3 hours before, 2 hours ahead, whatever, all this other time zone stuff.
yeah, but okay. Let's
But
not
that's
talk
not
about it.
really a
That doesn't
problem.
make any. It's not a problem. The real issue is that people would still have conflicting schedules,
Right. Although
and it
we
makes no sense.
we know a guy who had to live on Korea's schedule for a while because he worked for an organization, like he was outsourced to Korea for a while.
He had a lot of meetings with people in Korea.
And so it was just a real bonkers schedule for him.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, pre-stream conversation. I don't know if we got many people in the chat right now, but I did want to talk about Witcher, The Witcher. Have you been
Oh, okay.
watching Witcher season 3 at all?
Yeah, I finished the first half that came out.
You finished the first half. I've only seen 2 episodes. So
Okay.
here's my question. Does it seem like a lower budget, lower quality to you?
I think they definitely put more money into the first season than they have in the second two.
So it looked to me like, oh, this has got a huge budget hit. A lot of Netflix shows got a huge budget hit. And I looked it up, and they spent $300 million on this season.
This one
On
season.
this
Okay,
one
well,
season.
maybe the second half will be
Spectacular. So
well, I guess. I mean, maybe it's because of the whole like fan ed. Uh, oh, you haven't gotten there yet. There's a whole. I mean, it's just one episode so far, but they kind of do multiple, viewpoints throughout the whole thing. So it might have taken a lot longer to film because they had to reset and all that jazz.
Mhm.
But still, that seems like way high.
Yeah, and so I wonder if the actors just demanded more. Like if it was a very large budget, but they had to give Henry Cavill $100 million or something like that. Like it just was eaten up by these actors who.
Definitely not 100 million to
No,
make him like the highest paid
right. No, I'm just throwing that
TV
out
act.
there.
Sure.
But just that now that these actors have such a grip on the show that they were able to demand more money.
Maybe.
But you
I
agree.
mean,
You agree that the quality, at least for me, the acting's great. The writing is the same. It's been the camera quality and some of the green screen, some of the CG. Like there was one scene, I'm like, why are they on a green screen? They're clearly on a green screen. They're
right.
front lit, but the sun behind them is coming like from the behind them, and like what is happening right now? Just some little things like that that only big nerds like me would actually
I mean,
find
I would
out.
say it hasn't been egregious to me. Like the visuals, even CGI, isn't that important to me anymore.
Right.
Like if it's not the best, I don't really care. Like because it's all CGI, I'd rather have practical effects. I'd rather have kind of goofy looking practical effects than perfect, CGI. But anyway, so it hasn't been egregious. It's not something that takes away from it. But yes, 300 million just seems too high in general for the
Yeah.
whole thing. Like, it might be, yeah, that they're having to, maybe, maybe Henry Cavill did say, well, I don't want to be on this anymore.
Right.
You have to pay me more, and this will be my last season. And they said, okay, we'll do that for this season, and then we'll get Liam Hemsworth. we'll, we'll
The
get we'll
perfect
get
replacement.
the perfect. Hey, look, man, it might be good. Who knows? But it's going to be strange. That's for sure.
I mean,
I will. I would state that it won't be any more or less. Well, it'll be more strange because he's a more Henry Cavill's a more recognizable person, like more well known. But the change in like appearance between first season and second season Siri is basically just as jarring. Like, I think she just got older and went through normal life changes.
because we had the quarantine, and so they
Yeah, there
had to
was an
wait an
extended
extra time,
time,
and yeah,
but that was like, this looks like a different person, but it's supposed to be basically an immediate continuation, and it just felt so strange.
there was a moment in the beginning of season 2. My wife and I just rewatched all of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
In episode 1 of season 2, where at the very beginning of the episode, they play the
Yes.
end of
Yes.
season 1, and then they do a little something on the side, and then they cut back to what's meant to be just them continuing to ride away, and it's a different human being on that horse now. Like,
At least it seems that it looks
right.
like she looks different.
It's the same
Yes.
actress. I will say that I think, we talked about normal life changes, puberty and whatnot. I think part of it is, and this is me 100% assuming, I don't know. I wonder if the actress had some acne issues, because I also noticed that they have a ton of makeup on her pretty consistently. Like, a lot of makeup on her pretty
Yeah,
consistently.
maybe, or just like an attempt to try to make her look younger, kind of
Maybe.
thing. Somehow, I don't know. Yeah, that was a jarring change,
Very
like
much
shift.
so.
And so I think it'll probably be the same. I don't know how good of an actor Liam Hemsworth is. I'm not sure if I've ever seen it. I saw the Hunger Games, but I don't know if that he won't be girl. He won't be Henry Cavill.
I don't
Henry
know
Cavill
that.
is a
I don't know that Geralt needs an incredible actor, though. He's
no.
brooding guy.
Well,
brooding.
he's not. Look, he's not just brooding guy. He is more depthful than it seems on the surface. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I'll probably try it, watch it anyway. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
It'll be whatever.
We'll see.
All that means is that what the good news is that Henry Cavill is going to be in a Warhammer show, and I've been getting a little bit into the Warhammer lore.
Is that really what he's doing?
Yes.
Oh, he loves that. I bet he's so happy.
This is allowing him to basically to be in a Warhammer show.
His dream
and I've been getting a
role.
little bit into Warhammer, just the lore, not the actual
Yeah.
game. And I'm like, okay, cool. I want to see that. I want to see that now.
Warhammer's lore is bonkers.
Yes.
Absolutely wild. Particularly the fact that it is actually meant to be the Warhammer setting. So this is the fantasy, like elves and orcs and goblins and whatever. That high fantasy Warhammer setting, 40,000 years in the future.
Yeah, that's what 40K means.
Right, that's what 40K is. And so you still have the orcs and goblins, and they still have magic, and but
they're space elves and space dwarves
and
now.
the Eldar are space elves, and so there's still like the chaos faction that worships these chaotic gods, and in 40K they're so brutal and insane, and it's
a meat grinder. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. But The Witcher has been fine. I texted you about it. The best part of the show is always the monster fights.
Yeah.
There are some really cool ones in the first half of the season, and those are the moments where I'm like, oh, this is fun. Mm-hmm. This is cool. Mm-hmm. I love these are cool looking monsters, and the cool training how to learn. Like, there's a scene where Geralt and Ciri are like talking about they anticipate finding this particular monster or a monster, and she's like learning or talking like, oh, it's because of this reason I think it's this, and it's like that's really fun, and that's way more interesting to me than honestly the like interpersonal drama at this point. I love that in the books, but in the show it just hasn't been portrayed, I think, in the same way. Anyway, it's been fine.
And I'll say that Jackie keeps asking me, like, you read the books, like, what's going on here, and who's this, and what's that? And I tell her, we're 100% off book now. Like,
Not 100%, but
80%.
well, yeah, later in the first half you get to the conclave of at Thanid, the conclave of
Right.
and that is maybe in content, maybe it differs some ways, but it is very much a huge scene from the books.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
A very like pivotal moment in the books. So, yeah.
We'll see. All right. Well, hey, with that being said, do you want to do a podcast now?
I've heard good things about them. Let's try it out.
Yeah. Hey, for those out there who don't know in the chats, this is a podcast, and we're going to be recording here in just a second. What this means is that we'll be having a conversation, and you are welcome to be a part of that conversation, but we're actually going to not interact with the chat while we are podcasting. Once we finish the podcast at the end, we will stick around as much as Fox can. His boy is asleep right now, taking a nap. But so we'll stick around for a little bit afterward just to interact and chat with the chat and go back through the chat and do whatever. So please put whatever comments you have, everything you have, literally as if we were to normally interact with the chat, put that in the chat. And afterward, we're going to go back and hit all of those comments and discuss all of that stuff as much as we have time to do. With that being said, though, we are going to start podcasting now. You ready?
For sure.
Okay. Oh, let me go ahead and stop this music because we're going to be playing other music in a second here. All right. In 3, 2. Oh, hang on. I need to get my notes. I'm a professional. Yeah. In 3, 2. Today on the Nerdy Gritty, after this. Today on the Nerdy Gritty. No, don't laugh. Don't laugh. You can't laugh. That ruins everything.
I think you already did.
Today on the Nerdy Gritty, after the success of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set, should Magic the Gathering make more serialized cards? You don't want to. You don't want to jump in here? Are you playing the
intro? No. Oh. Okay.
Oh, I'm such a doofus. I even talked about it already. I'm so sorry. The intro's a new thing, okay? We've only used it twice before.
Well, having the button, sure, but it's been a part of a... Anyway.
One more time. Here we go. I got it this time. Today on the Nerdy Gritty, after the success of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, should Magic the Gathering make more serialized cards?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. World that makes a man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Why, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am your mythic rare Fox.
I am the one of one, Dez.
That is true.
It's only
true.
me, baby.
I'll give you that one.
Only me.
Hey, so I don't know if you've seen the picture that Ryan Reynolds posted of it's a still from shooting Deadpool 3.
You know something about Ryan Reynolds that I don't? That's shocking.
I do.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, you need to look it up.
Deadpool
it's not supposed to come out for less. It's almost a year, but there's still some.
Which one am I looking at?
Wolverine.
No, I'm not seeing.
You haven't, just Google Deadpool and Wolverine photo.
Okay.
It's Deadpool walking with. It's just a picture of them walking somewhere. From.
Oh, yep, there it is. Yeah. Look at his suit.
Hugh Jackman is finally in the classic yellow suit.
He is. He's in the yellow suit. I like it. It looks good.
Deadpool is the only place that it would make sense for that character to do so. It would have been super weird to see him dress up like that in anything else, any of the serious movies. But anyway, so seeing that, and it reminded me of a question that my brother and I were talking about trying to answer from a few weeks ago when he came and visited. Here's the situation. I'm going to present this situation to you, and we're going to talk about it. An owl comes down your chimney, comes to your mailbox, and it has like laser eyes or something. And it gives you
stop.
Nope.
Stop everything. Here's what's going to happen.
You will understand. You will understand. It comes to your house. It can turn invisible or something. And it drops off a letter. You've been invited to go to to Charles Xavier's School for Extraordinary Gifted Children or whatever.
An owl with
yeah, it's a mutant owl. It's like a Harry Potter thing
with laser eyes. Right.
Right. So you get an invite to go to the School for Gifted Youngsters or whatever. But you are not a mutant. You are you. You know, let's say, you know, you're 10 years old or whatever. You are you. You're not a mutant. You email Professor X or whatever and say, hey, I'm not a mutant. And he's like, I know. We're just low on enrollment. So here's how we're going to do this. You are going to come and you are going to pretend to be a mutant, and I'm going to like go along with it. Here's the situation. How do you try to fool all of the other students into thinking that you are a mutant while you are taking classes? What kind of power do you try to pretend to have?
Okay. So I just want to be clear here.
Let's just say Professor X and all the staff.
Right. So
all the staff are in on it. They know.
But
the students are going to be upset.
School for Gifted Youngsters is low on enrollment. They need some more students. They need that good old cash.
Right.
And so you have been accepted, and you need to pretend to have. So how do I pretend to have?
How do you blend
without
in?
Giving it away? Okay. You know what I would go with? Tip my hat to my old friend Ralph Amsden here. He said that his superhero power would be to point at somebody and immediately make them have diarrhea.
Now here's the thing.
Immediately.
As soon as you point your finger at them, though, and they don't have diarrhea,
it's got to be no. So then I would have learned to do Disneyland style, where it's like open hand to everything. I never point. I always just gesture. Like it's a real like. Why do you do that? And you're like, man, it's my. You'd want to know. My mutant power gets real rough.
I see.
And so like
interesting.
I'm telling people like. We can't do this publicly. You can't see me do this. Like, who's going to volunteer for this? Who's going to go to this? I'm like, all right, try that out on me, dude. One guy's going to do it, and he's like, try it out on me. And everybody's going to look and be like, no, we're not. Frank,
and everybody's going to be like,
Frank.
oh, yeah, that's nasty Frank.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
We do not want to do this.
That's brilliant. Make it a power that nobody wants
to see that. Or like,
that's very good.
Here's my mutant power. When I think about somebody real hard, their skin comes off. Nobody's going to see that, but you definitely need the training to not do it on accident, to be able to control it, you know? So
I didn't think about that. That's a very, very good strategy. My strategy was go with some kind of ethereal, like, power that's obviously, if you walk in and say, I've got Cyclops laser vision, people are going to be like, then do it. And then if you don't do it, they're going to be like, you're not Cyclops. Like, that's obviously not the case. So my thing was like, what if I'm like a Deanna Troy empath? I can feel what people are feeling. And then when they say, no, I wasn't, and I say, well, clearly you aren't in tune with your own emotions. Basically, my superpower would be gaslighting.
Yeah, joke. My gosh.
But I say, no, this is what you're feeling. Or I say, my superpower is like, you know, I can make you think things. And then I say, think of an elephant. And then obviously everybody's going to think of an elephant right there. You can't not. It would just pop into your mind. There you go. That's my power. And then you run away.
And then you run away. You say, "What's that over there?"
Look, a distraction, and you run away.
My superpower is hiding my superpower.
My superpower is anonymity. You don't even know my name.
What are you talking about, Des? Yes, you introduced yourself yesterday. The teacher brought you in front of class and said your name.
You got me on that one.
You could go the mystery man route, and say
Sure.
that you are invisible, but only when no one's looking.
There it is. That's a good one. I like that one. You can say, I'm just a low level, like, technopath. Look, I can use this iPad.
And you're just an IT guy. That's it.
You're an IT guy. You're just using an iPad.
Yeah, I'm not very good at it yet. That's why I'm here at the school to really learn how to use this. Yeah. So, all right, I need to go into DOS mode. Can't you just think this? Look, I'm running a macro, okay?
I can time travel, but only forward at regular speed.
Forward at 1 second per 1 second. Wait. Class is going to start right now. Then the bell rings. They're like, we all have watches. It's right here.
Man, this would be easier than I expected. There's so many ways that we can just trick everybody into
Here's the
thinking we're
tough
immune.
part. How do you get around the telepaths that can read your thoughts?
That's a good point.
So here's one. Okay, ready? Here's one. You say, I have some horrible ability that Professor X had to erase from my brain. I don't know what it is or how I use it. But I'm here to learn like about mutant powers and how to control them so that one day he can reveal it to me again. And then I can go and
side blockers going on. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. Then you got like a whole mystery, like, whoa, this guy's powerful.
How much would that suck if like that might be an even good storyline. Like for a year of comics, like there's this one guy and he keeps talking about that and keeps talking about this. And then at one point they just reveal that he's got nothing. He has no power at all, actually. This has been nothing and he lied to everybody and oh man.
There was kind of a thing like that. There was a Children of the Atom, which is like 6-issue like thing that happened last year, 2 years ago, where it was a bunch of human children, teenagers who were they were stans of the X-Men, huge into mutant fandom, and basically they created devices that gave them mutant powers. So one person just had a visor that gave him Cyclops lasers, and essentially like they were also able to block themselves from being seen by Cerebro. So even the mutants thought they were and invited them to Krakoa, but they couldn't. It was okay. Anyway.
Reminds me
of there's your strategies to get into the gifted.
Yeah, I love that. Reminds me of one of my favorite DC like storylines of all times, Identity Crisis, where it starts.
Here we go again.
Like the whole thing starts with a few. No, maybe that wasn't Identity Crisis. One of the stories starts with some like C-list superheroes starting a reality show.
Oh, that's the beginning of Civil War.
Oh, you're right. That's what it was. Civil War. That's what it was. One of my favorite graphic novels. That's what it was.
It's about some low level mutant or low level superheroes trying to like find
villains,
find these other low level villains.
But one of them turns out to be way more powerful than they thought.
They had been taking he had been taking a drug that increased his power. It was what's his name, Nitro, whatever.
Yeah,
he blew up a school and killed 800 kids, and that's what triggered the Superhuman Registration Act. Yeah. So anyway,
there it is. Okay,
fun stuff.
Yeah, fun stuff. Anyway, hey, should we get on to the news and what's going on in the world today?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, I have some sad news. You were there as I was looking through this and thinking to myself, I don't have an article yet. I need to look through articles. Oh, that can't be true. I just read this. I'm on GameDeveloper.com here. Study finds that nearly every pre-2010 video game is unavailable. So
What?
there was a recent study shows that 87% of video games made before 2010 have failed to be preserved in any actual capacity. Like, people have their discs and they may have purchased games, they may have hard copies, but there's no digital representation of them to be able to continue, like,
Oh,
to bring
interesting.
into future generations or anything like that. Where
So unless you have that physical copy and a system to play it on,
it's essentially gone.
there's no way to find it. Man, that sucks.
87%. This brings up a conversation of like art conservation. It's like
Yeah,
a
art
big,
preservation.
yeah, it's a big conversation. It's a conservation conversation about how do we preserve art and able to, like, have it there for future generations. And video games is a huge part of that. Not every video game needs to be available for every generation in the future, but it'd be nice if it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a simple thing, like create some kind of centralized, you know, organization that all the, big developers or something just fund equally or whatever. And it's just like we have data storage for the games. Most games from, of up until a certain point 10 or 15 years ago are extremely small. Like everything on the Super Nintendo is going to be a floppy disk worth of memory. Like, it's tiny. So
Right,
like,
right.
I don't, obviously the size requirements are getting huge these days comparatively, but I mean, I feel as though it would be weird to me though if Nintendo doesn't have some kind of internal just preservation. Like, we have a digitized library of our own games.
I'm sure
somewhere.
they're first party games, I'm sure, yeah. But
Yeah.
Nintendo's first party games are few and far between. They're one of those people that are like, we are here for quantity over quality, or sorry, quality over quantity. Like,
And yeah, as far as their internally developed stuff.
right. But they have no reason to save third party games, especially when you can go back and play Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, 30 years later, and it's still incredible.
Sure. Or they want you to play the remake so they don't make the original available or whatever, something like that. Where,
Right, right.
yeah, it needs to, the answer would be some kind of, altruistic, good faith, like, agreement. Disregard, copyright, disregard your IP rights, all that kind of stuff. We're not making it available to people. We're putting it in a digital storage so that future generations will at least have access to it in some capacity.
This is something that I'm surprised that, like, Amazon hasn't done, or something like that, where they just say, hey, you pay us $100 a month for every yottabyte of storage you want, and we will put your games in here for as long as you want them. And then whenever you want to keep them, we are not claiming any rights to them or anything like that. This is just a storage place. They have the money to keep that kind of storage, to keep that kind of like processing and whatever else they need to do. They have the money to like do this and also make so much money off of this.
Yeah.
So
And it's just-
much money off of this.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it gets shifted in some way. Hopefully that becomes more of a priority, because that is a big number of games.
That's a huge number of games. Now, we do have to understand at the same time that this article does not specify if these are like AAA or even like indie or whatever games. Starting at around, actually, no, probably starting around 2010. I was going to say like games started releasing in the dozens a month, but
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just become a bigger and bigger industry. So you get
Right.
more stuff out there, especially with Steam becoming so easy to sell on.
but
yeah.
like one of the things here says like the Commodore 64 has been pretty much abandoned. Nobody has anything up from it anymore. None of the discs, none of the games, none of the even the computer itself is a rarity. So it just means that something I'm interested in is I have in like new condition, 100% pristine condition, the first release copies of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy IX, and I have an original PlayStation 1. I have the ability to play all these games on their original system for like in perfect condition. And so I wonder just how valuable that's going to be someday.
Sure, they will be, but that's really not the one that's going to be, like, obviously Final Fantasy VII probably never going to be abandoned.
Right. It's on Steam right
What
now, so we know it's not.
most of the games that this is going to refer to, probably a lot of them, maybe not most, a lot of them you've literally never heard of.
Yeah.
They were just like shovelware from 1994, you know,
Pepsi
and
Man.
it's like, yeah, it's just, well, no, again, Pepsi, the fact that you can name it means that it probably will be preserved more than most of the games that are just lost to time.
Here, no.
That
Let me name some games that I don't know.
um Jimmy the Jumper's Adventure Through Australia. That is a game that I don't know about, but it exists now. All right. Well, that's sad.
It is
You know
sad.
what? Also, well, you know what's? I mean, depending on your viewpoint, neutral, I guess, could be good, could be
I
bad.
was hoping you'd go with not sad.
So there's the current ongoing Microsoft versus the FTC situation where basically Microsoft is trying to buy Activision Blizzard King.
Right.
They have been the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is trying to block that, basically stating or the viewpoint that it's a monopoly, creating monopoly. The FTC just lost.
Really?
It was revealed.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is an article from Insider Gaming from yesterday. It was revealed that Microsoft has won its case against the FTC. This is a monumental victory. So yes, at least the current fight. It will continue to go on.
I'm sure.
The FTC has the ability to appeal, all that kind of stuff. Like it's not over by a long shot, but it is a big step.
Yeah.
In Microsoft doing this, Microsoft still has to contend with the CMA. We talked about this a little bit. The Competition and Markets Authority,
the Country Music Association.
Yes, it's the UK's equivalent of the FTC essentially.
And I have heard that they are much more like staunchly no on this. Like,
they've already blocked it,
yeah.
but there's a hearing taking place at the end of the month. So, but it's not over. But it's just a big step, in like a surprising step, that because if you are me and you have my viewpoints, that's shocking. Like, this is clearly a huge homogenization of the gaming industry. So much of the gaming industry is owned by Microsoft and or Activision,
right?
Or Activision, and making them one company is it's massive.
Well,
it makes me feel like Sony is like the cool scrappy underdog because they're not trying to buy another $70 million thing.
It makes me think like specifically about if we just think of Western game developers, like in the Eastern and like Asian countries, particularly Japan, especially, Sony and Nintendo are massive, and Microsoft nor Activision, neither of them begin to compete in any way in those areas. But if we think just Western world, that's a percentage of game developers that, like, for folks who live in the Western world, that just means your choices are pretty much to go indie or work for Microsoft.
Yes, I would say that Sony and Nintendo have a much larger market share of Japan than Microsoft. But if we're talking numerical value, Japan is dwarfed by even the United States.
Right.
And like how much is spent on video games. Like just in total. It's a smaller, a smaller country by far. And so like it's still huge. Yes, you're right. But Sony is, if Sony had 100% market share in Japan and 10% in hypothetically in United States versus 90% from Microsoft is still dominating in that capacity. So,
man, I'm looking at money spent on video games by country, like revenue on video games by country here, and I got the top, looks like 10. We are at Canada is at 3.3 billion, France 4.1 billion, UK 5.5, Germany 6.5, South Korea 7.4, Japan 19 billion, China $44 billion. It goes from 19 to 44. United States $46 billion on
Yeah.
video games.
Yeah.
That's
China has some of the most popular games in the world that we have literally never, like, you hear about them and you think they're made up fake, satire
right,
games or something.
right. Well, then, in China, a lot of Activision games are also like Blizzard Activision games are wildly popular.
Sure.
So
Or yeah, a lot of mobile stuff.
yeah, that market could also be considered for the Microsoft side of things. So yeah, I mean, this is you've already talked about it, and I agree with you. It's surprising because no, it's not a monopoly. It's not a literal monopoly in the literal definition of saying now you own the entire market and nobody can
Well, yeah,
compete with you.
that's not really that's not the goalpost though for the
Right,
FTC.
right.
The FTC is looking for fair market,
And that is
access, not necessarily, oh, they don't literally own 100%, then it's fine. That's not what the FTC is looking for.
right. And that what they are looking for is clear. Like it will be such a massive hold on the industry in especially in the United States and in Europe. It's just that's wild. Crazy. Oh well.
What you gonna do?
What are we gonna do about it? I mean, that's unfortunate, but anyway. Hey, should we get down to the nerdy gritty?
We should.
So, for those of you who don't know, those of you who have apparently not been listening to me or watching any of my streams, or like for whatever reason are just peeking in for something never heard before, Magic the Gathering, the Wizards of the Coast card game, has recently released a special Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set of cards. Every card is Lord of the Rings themed. 90% of them, 95% of them are original cards.
Yeah, some of them are reprints, not reprints, but old cards with the same abilities, but are now with artwork and flavor text that is
Lord of the
Rings themed.
Yeah. It'll say the name of the Lord of the Rings one, and then like in a small box underneath it, it'll say the original card name of what it is. So, yeah. Like I have a Minas Morgul, and then right underneath it says Cabal Coffers. And
I didn't. Okay, I haven't seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's going on here now. It's wildly popular, incredibly popular, and part of what has made it so ridiculously popular is that Magic the Gathering, for the first time ever, has created serialized cards. The most popular being, of course, the One of One ring. There is one card that is the extended art, borderless, one ring floating on lava, and all the text is written in the Black Speech of Mordor. And it is the only one out there. It has been found. It is currently being priced at $2 million. So, but there are other serialized cards. There are soul rings that are flavored texted to be in the other rings, so the elven rings, the dwarven rings, the human rings, and whatnot.
Right.
And so you can still pull these other rings as well. It has brought up prices in a crazy way. Before the one ring was pulled, the prices for the collector's pack, the only type of pack that you could pull the one ring out of, a box was up to over $500 for.
I think that I saw $520 on Amazon at one point.
There's 12 packs in a box.
It's only 12?
12 packs in a box.
Dear Lord.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it was more.
No, it has 12 packs in a box. Or here, let me double check right here. I got one right next to me because somebody got a box. Who would buy a box of this nonsense? I'm fairly certain it's 12. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
So how do they not have?
Can you not count the number of packs in there?
Well, I've opened them. So
I see.
yeah, I've already opened several of them. It's either 12 or 14. I'm fairly certain it's 12. Anyway,
Sure.
So once the one ring was found, the prices of those went down pretty significantly. And that's when I finally got one, is when the prices dropped significantly. But this has brought up the question, should Magic the Gathering continue to do things like this, to make serialized cards, to make themed sets with specific IPs, and specifically the serialized cards of like 1 of 1 or 10 of 10 types of cards? Is this something that they should keep doing? It has the community heavily split.
Yes.
On one side, There are some people saying, absolutely not. This was ridiculous. Clearly, it inflated, like artificially inflated prices, and it made it feel more like, of the heavy gambling side of things and actually
It's
selling
a
cards.
lottery situation.
Yeah. But on the other side, there are plenty of people saying this was super fun. It was way more fun opening packs than I've had in a long time. I love the theming. It makes perfect sense with this type of theme. If you can find other IP where it would make perfect sense, yeah, that would be great. So there are these questions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Should they continue with this idea, and should they continue to do things like this, or will it end up becoming too much? When does it become too much? So I don't know. Off the bat, Fox, what do you think about this?
Man, here's the thing. I have not played Magic the Gathering on a regular basis in like a decade plus, 10 or 12 years.
Same.
Hugh and I have played here and there. For your birthday, I'd buy 2 pre-made decks. We'd take one each and then play for a little bit.
Yeah.
Here and there. This is the first time. Because I'm a Lord of the Rings shill, this is the first time where I'm like actually buying packs and getting into it and playing Magic and looking forward to, actually getting back into it, because I have really liked beyond just the like, oh, it's got Lord of the Rings on it. It's also an extremely, in my opinion, well done like version of this where
Agreed.
They obviously wouldn't do this if it wasn't going to make them more money because of the brand recognition. But it does seem like they took the time to genuinely like create some new game mechanics that tie in with the idea of Lord of the Rings, the idea of being tempted by the ring, things like that, or sagas. That's not new, but they work well with this, like as well as the artwork, things like that. They put some time and effort into crafting something cool looking and unique and interesting, and beyond, it's not just, oh, we got some new artwork on some cards, here you go, give us money now. So I've really appreciated that. I do not like the serialized thing. I appreciate the idea of it. It makes sense to me that there would be the one card, but to me that's just like it is pandering to people who can already afford it. I honestly, it feels to me like this is a microcosm of the idea of like, if you already have wealth, then you can gain more wealth. Like it's just I think there are financial and economic problematic issues with this kind of printing of a set. I understand scarcity is a thing, and that's how kind of a card game like this is going to make its money. But it's the idea like, if you can buy a collector's box, then you can probably make your money back and buy more collector's boosters at least. Like it can just be a cycle where if you can't, then you're really just out of the game from the start. You can't afford it. So from that standpoint, I don't really appreciate this method of scarcity, because I do think it's an issue.
Let me push back on that.
It locks people out.
Let me push back on that for a second, because what it locks people out on is getting serialized cards, but it doesn't. You use the phrase, and he used it as a metaphor or as a colloquialism. You said it locks people out of the game, but it literally does not. All of these cards are printed regularly, and you can pull any one of these cards at any time in a regular pack for $7. And I pulled a $60 card out of a $7 pack. And you can do that at any time. And that's great. And that's awesome. And that's not prohibitive for the majority of people, I would say, to spend $7 on a single booster pack. So it's really just these high collector things. And that's the reality for all kinds of stuff, whether it be arts or cars or whatever else, where sure, if you want the big fancy collector's item or whatever, you're going to get to a financially prohibitive state where only the super rich are able to do it. Or in this case, the comfortably wealthy, I guess you could say, for
you sold cards to be able to buy a booster's box.
For me, oh yeah, I spent $40 on a collector booster box, to be clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is cheaper, actually less than one booster pack individually.
Correct. Actually, now it's the same price, but at the At the time, it was less than a single booster pack. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I completely, that makes sense. It's, again, at the end of the day, like, we have to admit, it's a card game. Nobody is required to play. Nobody is like, it is a complete luxury. It does not provide sustenance. It does not provide, you
Right.
could burn the cards for fuel for a couple seconds, but probably better ways to do that. Like, it's not in any way required for life. And so therefore, really, it doesn't matter. But if you are into the game, yes, it's going to depend on what you want to get out of it. If you just want to play the game, then yeah, you don't need to collect. I've played several games of Magic entirely with these cards and have not bought a single collector's pack.
Yeah.
I sold some cards to buy some booster packs and did a pre-release and things like that. But it does, I would say, that does as a whole. So if we focus in on the audience of the game, even if you are not into the collecting, the super high, rare stuff, it is going to drive the price up on everything else, I would say.
Yeah. A set booster pack is $1, if not $2 more than the other set booster packs. Yeah.
Right. I was going to ask you about that. Is $7 so $7 has not been standard?
No. Five is for the older sets. It's $5, and then for more recents, it's $6. $7 is not the normal price. There are some like specialty sets where it's $7, $8, $10, $15 even, but for your regular standard set, it's $5 or $6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I wonder if that's just because of the collecting nature of it, or if it's just a price increase that apparently back when I used to play, it was $4 a booster. So it's obviously just gone up over the years, which is just how
inflation,
it's just how economics works. But so, yeah, but that I would say is the main problem, is that even if you are not looking to find the one ring, then the rest of the game may still be negatively impacted by the fact that there are some people out there willing to pay $2 million to have that one ring card. And so people are, it's a Willy Wonka situation. I imagine, like, people, who's it, Veruca Salt and her dad has a whole factory of people opening, where it's like, he's increasing the prices for everybody else because he is able to make things more scarce. And so obviously not the literal exact situation, but I just see this as like you have streamers and stuff out there.
Yeah.
We're just like, I'm going to spend $50,000 on cards to try to find this one. And that artificially inflates the price for even the people who are not going to in any way attempt to find this card.
And this is a perfect example, like a small economy in and of itself, where within this economy, one thing or a handful of things have made more people want to buy it. And because people are willing to spend more money on it, prices have been going up. And because prices have been going up, now it has become more prohibitive for those who can't afford those things. And that's, just basic economics right there. And so I could definitely see what you're talking about there. And also to kind of, bounce back and forth on sides here. Nobody has to do this.
Sure.
It is not a necessity. It is a compulsion for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For a lot of people out there, it is a mental health issue compulsion to buy these packs. And when you entice them actively, because this is bait, this is something dangling on a hook for you to come in and say, come and get it. And those who struggle with this, it is specifically aimed toward them. And it can be predatory in a lot of ways. And so that is problematic when you think about it that way, for sure.
Yeah. So I would say in the future, if we want to, get into like, well, should they continue to do this kind of, thing? Because let's face it, it's inevitable that that they'll make a Hobbit set.
Oh, I've got ideas for other IPs already, like a Legend of the Five Rings, where it's the Five Rings serialized or whatever else.
But even if they, want to try to continue the success of the Lord of the Rings, the Tolkien, they could just do the Hobbit. Hey, guess what's in the Hobbit? Also, the one ring. Just do it again. It just looks different this time. Like, do the exact same thing. It's just a different looking card. So they very much have the ability to do the exact same thing. I would be it would be shocking to me if they don't come out with a Hobbit set, a Silmarillion set, a Rings of Power tie-in set, like all whatever they can to get that money. So like in the future, I really I don't want to say that they shouldn't do this because I do like the idea of it. Like it makes sense to I what I think they should do is find some other way for that card to be found or won. Maybe it's at the World Championship of Magic the Gathering, which is still going to maybe have some of the same effects. But if you need to do more than just buy cards, then it's going to weed out more people. And I think prices would still be more stable and cheaper for more people to be able to play the game without needing to go do the thing. And it also involves more of the actual game. You can literally just say, oh, I don't care about Magic the Gathering, but this is a speculator thing, so I'm just going to buy up a bunch of packs, drive prices up, and never actually play Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it's a tournament thing, then, oh, I want that card, I should play more Magic, get into it, get better at it. It's going to mean you're still buying more. Like that's all that to say is I like the idea of it. I don't think it's inherently a bad idea. I do wish they would come up with some way to distribute that card that incorporates more than just I can afford it, so I'm going to try to buy it.
Yeah, and I think what made it work so much with this one in particular is the fact that it's literally called the One Ring.
Yes.
And so being able to call it the One of One Ring is a thematic thing that makes perfect sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you try and pull other things out there that don't have that same sort of theming, it's going to feel like it's going to change the feeling of it immediately to everybody able to peek behind the curtain and see that it's just bait. Like,
right.
This one, it worked perfectly with it. Although I will say I'd have bought cards. I'd have been doing the exact same thing without the serialized stuff because I love Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings IP is what brought me out of my Magic,
same.
Stuff, not the serialized stuff. But
I've not bought a collector's thing. I don't intend to.
But here's the trouble with all of this, though. They will, because it's worked,
and it's WotC,
and it's gonna work again. And that's the problem with things like this is no matter what we say, it worked and it's gonna work again. Yes. And so they're gonna keep doing this until they find a balance where, okay, it's going up, but now we've done it too much and now it's dipping. Okay, let's do it less. Now it's going up. And then they're gonna find that balance of once a year we do serialized stuff or whatever it is. Like, because I was thinking to myself, what would be another IP that would make me want to do this, and what would it have to be? And then it hit me. This would never happen because Disney would never let go. But
they've got their own card game.
What if it was a Marvel set, and there was the one of one Infinity Gauntlet, and there were Infinity Stones that were serialized but not one of ones? That would be awesome. And that would bring so many people out of the woodwork. Like, that would be super cool. And I'd be way into that. And that thematically feels right. That thematically feels good. So there are other IPs. There are other things they can pull from, other ways they can go. But I don't want them to.
Right. It is a classic case of, I get it. You're a company. You're trying to make money. But it feels ethically slimy. Yeah. So please don't. And at the end of the day, Wizards of the Coast does not have a good track record on not doing ethically slimy things.
No, I actually just watched a half-hour extra credits video on specifically Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons, and how this OGL issue that everybody's complaining about now is the third time that they've done this. That this is not the first. Like, they have a history of doing this crap, and we keep putting up with it. So
right,
yeah.
Really what it would take is, at the end of the day, you'd vote with your wallet. And I'd like to say that, I did that. No, I bought Magic cards because of the theme.
Yeah.
I did it. I'm one of those people. I would pay $30 for those 4 cards in the secret layer drop that are unique, to art. Because I wouldn't be, I'm not planning on it right now. I wouldn't be against it though, because they're cool looking and they're Lord of the Rings themed, and I want to collect the cards.
Well,
so
for me, it's how I was introduced.
I would say I'm part of the problem right now.
Yeah, and those secret layer ones are how I was introduced to Lord of the Rings, is with those old cartoons. Like, they were great, and I loved them as a kid. So, you used the phrase already. I'm part of the problem, and I know it and I admit it. And the reality is if they came out with another IP that I loved, I'd probably continue to be part of the problem. And but the serialized part. So I guess as far as IPs go, I like that. Continue to do that. It's
Oh,
going to
sure.
be natural. Economy is natural, and people enjoying an IP is going to raise prices. That's how money works. I get that. The serialized stuff is what feels like such pandering bait to me, and I
That it's
don't want
exploit.
that.
It feels exploitative.
Yeah, that's the right
to a
word.
to a degree that feels bad
Yeah,
and feels like it's non-consumer friendly. Putting Aragorn in your artwork is pretty cool. Like it is still exploitative, I would say, because it's, you can have the same exact card without, you know, introducing this other thing that people like, and it still have the same exact function in the game. I would still say it's exploiting people's love for something that isn't necessary
right.
for the game, but it feels, I mean, it's common that, I mean,
Yeah,
especially in this day and age, the Lord of the Rings is being more and more used in other, it's being expanded in different ways. So it's just going to be, we always have to recognize that it's just a degree of exploitation that we are comfortable with engaging in.
yeah. I don't
I'm
even know.
comfortable. Yeah, I'm comfortable with buying packs of these cards, but I'm not comfortable with buying collector's packs.
Yeah,
And it's just going to be a personal choice. And if you aren't comfortable at all, then just don't do it, and that's fine. Like, vote with your wallet. I'm voting with my wallet by not buying certain things. Whatever, it's always going to be a thing. They're not going to stop. Like, that's inevitable that they will continue to do this. I'm sure we could Google right now what the next
Doctor Who.
universes beyond are going to be.
Doctor Who.
Oh, there you go, Doctor Who, which feels less good to me. I don't know. The high fantasy works really well with Magic the Gathering in a way that other
But they've
things
been
don't.
they've been going like there was a new Capenna set that was supposed to be like 1930s America with like gangsters and mobsters and whatnot, but they are all fantasy creatures. There
Yeah.
was
There's a
the
Warhammer.
the not Return to Kamigawa. There was a new Kamigawa
Return to
set,
Ravnica.
but no, they went back to Kamigawa. I can't remember what it was called, but and this was all futuristic, like neo-futuristic.
Oh, Neon Dynasty.
Yeah,
Neon.
that's right, Kamigawa
Yeah.
Neon Dynasty. Yeah, and it was all neo-futuristic type stuff, and so they definitely have been bringing in a lot more modern type things,
Diversifying. Yeah.
and there is a huge Doctor Who community out there. I'm not part of it. I have no interest in that whatsoever, but I'm sure there are folks out there who have no interest in Lord of the Rings, so that's fine.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just, you always have to just to recognize that it's not a yes or no. It's a gray area. What are you comfortable with engaging in? If other people have the money to search after the One Ring, that's up that they can. It might have negative effects on the rest of the game, and if you want to say I'm not going to engage at all because of that, perfectly fine. At the end of the day, it is a complete luxury to play Magic the Gathering.
Well, and the reality of the matter is there are some games that are entirely this, like Lorcana, the new Disney game that's coming out. This game would be a fine TCG that would probably actually not succeed if it was not the Disney brand.
Right.
But because it's the Disney brand, everybody, including myself, is all in on it. So
It's the only reason why Disney feels like they can compete with Magic the Gathering,
Right.
which has destroyed every competitor for 30 years now, is because they are Disney and they have access to so much. There will be Marvel cards eventually.
Yeah.
It won't. Yeah. And so it's just like, that's the only reason they feel like they can compete. So they are also exploiting your love, anybody's love for Disney IP, just like Magic the Gathering is. Like,
Yep.
it's just where we are now, and it might be a good game still.
Yeah, that's fine. And again, that's part of having a popular IP is it's going to have a lot of different versions. All right. Well, hey, y'all, let us know what you think about the serialized cards and about these IP themed things in Magic the Gathering. Let us know if you think they should do more, if they should do none, or something in the middle. With that all being said, though, we're not going to forget this time. Hey, Fox, what have you been up to lately?
So I've basically, I still need to do a few, story related things, but I've basically said I'm done with Tears of the Kingdom. It was a very fun game. I appreciate the mechanics they put in there. I was pretty let down. It felt like just I think we talked about at one point being like, if this was $40 DLC and they just added these new mechanics into the pre-existing Breath of the Wild world, that would make more. That would be like incredible. But as it is, it doesn't feel like it carried on the Zelda rhythm of kind of reinventing itself, and so it just felt disappointing to me. So I've moved on. That's all to say. As I've moved on, and I played, I've halfway through my second playthrough of Warhammer Bolt Gun. Warhammer Bolt Gun is I mean, it's called a boomer shooter. That's the colloquial term because it models itself after older shooter games like
Quake,
Doom, Quake,
yeah.
Duke Nukem, things like that. It is a very, very well made like homage to those games where you could say this was an N64 game and I might believe you. Like, it is extremely well done graphically. It has a little more story than those games typically did, but as far as like the actual gameplay goes, it feels very much the same. It's difficult. There's a scarcity of ammo, that you have to worry about and things like that. It has cool monster, pixel monster designs and things like that. It's very fun. I'm really hoping they make a sequel because it's super fun. It's kind of my first introduction into the entirety of the Warhammer universe. You play as some general, like some grunt in the Space Marine army, and you are just sent to just destroy stuff, and you do, and that's all. You are voiceless, you are faceless, you do not have you are just directed by whoever to murder everything, and that's the game, and it's really fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Man, I'm glad you're finding that type of game. I told you I'm like 110 hours in Tears of the Kingdom and still loving it, loving every second. I have not had a desire to continue playing a game like this since Elden Ring, where it's just when I'm not playing it, I want to be playing it still. And then ended up dropping like 200 hours on Elden Ring, and I'll probably do the same with this, somewhere in that area. So I am on stream. Probably this next coming stream, I will finish the 4th of 4 temples. And I'm like, and we'll probably be close to being done. And my son, who was in the other room watching my stream, sneaks into this one and goes, "You're not even close to done."
You're not even close.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess we got a lot more. So anyway, something that we have done is we recently beat the game Grounded. As a team, me, Fox, and our friend Gavin, we had a great time with it. It was a ton of fun. If I was playing it alone, I would not have survived the entire game.
This is the only survival game that I've ever enjoyed.
Right.
Because we were playing together.
But playing as a team, it was incredibly fun. But in replacement, we started playing a game, our filler game until Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, is Origami 2.
Yeah.
Origami 2 is a stealth mission game that kind of feeds on repetition, where you go in as a ninja and you are trying to sneak your way to the objectives and be seen as little as possible, only kill if absolutely necessary. And when you can get a team of people, it's up to 3-player co-op, so it's perfect for us. It has been hilariously fun and a comedy of errors in a lot of way.
Yeah, you're like, there have been multiple. We played one session. There were multiple, runs where I'm like doing my thing and I'm like sneaking over in this area and taking out and trying to find the thing, and then I just hear, "Whoa!
Oh no!" And then you see guys running all over the place. And like,
you see these red arrows of like recognition. I'm like, not me.
I made a mistake, guys. I'm so sorry.
Mission failed. Okay.
Yeah. So but the most successful we've been is at times when like one of us takes a bird's eye view and is like, "Hey, there's a guy coming up behind you. Look out!" And like just kind of like then spreading out and like doing these missions. And so it's these two different parts of either it being this hilarious comedy of errors as you figure things out, but then once you figure it out, you feel like a ninja. Like you feel like you just like did everything and you're a stealth master, and it feels so good. It's super fun. I'm really enjoying it.
You said you've been feeling about Tears of the Kingdom like when you're not playing it, you want to be playing it. I have felt that way in the last week also about Power Washer Simulator or Pressure, whatever it is.
Is it the Warhammer one? Now that you're in the
No,
Warhammer
no,
world,
just the basic
just
game.
normal.
I am about 80 to 85% away.
Oh, I thought
through
you were gonna say hours. Oh my
No,
gosh,
no,
I
no.
thought you were gonna say hours, Fox.
Maybe 30 hours, 40 hours. I've been playing a lot of it.
Wow.
It is it is incredibly engrossing where it's like if you're actively thinking while playing it, which a lot of times you're not, you're just there's dirt there, I need to destroy it. I need to get it out of here. If you're actively thinking, you're thinking I should be doing something else right now. I have a thing to write. I have a chore to be doing. I need to clean though. I need to clean this subway station. Like it is incredible. It is like detrimental almost to your life. Um, that's all to say. It's a very fun, like chill game.
Yeah.
There's no in the main career. There are challenge modes, but in the main career, there's no time limit. There's no like scarcity of resources. It just drops you. Here's a bolt or here's like a Ferris wheel. Go clean it. Then you just got to find all the pieces and find all the little hard to reach areas, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a simulator of using a pressure washer to clean things. It's extremely fun. I have loved it. I will be platinuming this game.
When we bought our first home, we also got a pressure washer, and my wife became with pressure washer not simulator obsessed to the point that one day I had to tell her, you have to stop. You're starting to expose the aggregate in our concrete. Like you're blowing off concrete and showing rocks now. Like you have to stop. And she wanted to pressure wash everything.
No, must clean.
So she slowly turned it toward me and I'm like, no.
This skin looks like it could be removed.
I started reading a book called The Westing Game. My wife and I have a tradition that is so much fun. Whenever we go on vacation, if it's a place we haven't been before, particularly if it's like a little town, like we were in Sisters, Oregon recently, we find whatever the local bookstore is. We go in and we each pick a random book for the other one to read. And that's it. And that's our whole goal. And we read it and it's been so much fun. I recently chose for her Legends and Lattes. I don't know if you've heard of this book.
No.
Oh, I'm going to talk about that real quick then. She didn't like it. She thought it was boring. I got it for her. I loved it. It is a book about an orc adventurer, very, very talented orc adventurer. And the very like opening pages of the book, she retires and opens a coffee shop. And it's an entire book about her opening a coffee shop in this small town in adventure world.
Okay, interesting.
And the tagline is high fantasy and low stakes, and it's incredibly like accurate. Where like the biggest worry is about this coffee shop, and that's kind of it. But it does such good character development that you care about the people in this so deeply, and so the little problems like the local mobsters asking for protection money, things like that, or some guy that comes in and he's kind of like a smarmy douche that keeps flirting with a barista and she is not welcome to her. Things like that are the conflicts in this. And because you love these characters so much, it feels so like satisfying to read. Minor spoiler alert, not a single punch is thrown, not a single sword is swung, no violence is done after the first 5 pages. And it's still an incredible book. Legends and Lattes,
Legends,
way
I'm
fun.
looking at it right now.
If you want to borrow it, I'll let you borrow it. It's so good, quick read, way fun. I'm currently reading a book called The Westing Game, and in The Westing Game, I've never even heard of it, no idea what it was about, so I just started reading it. And it starts in a very Neil Gaiman way, where it starts basically saying, here's a guy named, I can't remember his name, Gregory Smith. I'll make it up. And Gregory Smith did not exist. Gregory Smith had an apartment building with 16 rooms to rent. And so he sent out 16 letters to 16 very specific people. And each one of those people rented out a house. And all of these people were about to join the Westing Game.
Oh, okay. So it's like a mystery
It's a mystery.
kind of.
So rich guy, Westing, whatever Westing, dies, and in his will it says one of you is the murderer. Now here's a mystery you have to solve. Whoever solves it gets my fortune. And he like puts this mystery out to them, and so it's been very intriguing so far. What I will say though is that it's been hard to part of the way that the author tries to keep you confused about the mystery is that he immediately introduces you to, I'm going to get honestly say 19 different characters. And so keeping track of all these people is tough. And then he changes perspective, whose perspective he's writing from, paragraph to paragraph. And so, yeah. And so you could be reading about some guy thinking that he's so thankful that this person opened the door. And then the very next paragraph, it'll say, and then she closed the door, not wanting that guy in here anymore as she went back to, and I was like, wait, now we're in her. Okay. Now we're following her, not him. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like, yeah, it sounds difficult to follow.
It is. It's very difficult to follow. And I believe it's intentional just to keep you like off kilter so you don't solve the mystery too quickly, which feels a little artificial mystery, but I still get that. But I'm going to read it. It's a good book. It's a short one. I'm going to finish it though. So yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I've got.
Oh, I've got one more then.
Go ahead.
I watched a movie recently called Nimona.
I've got one more.
Okay. Well, you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched a movie called 65.
Oh no. Why? Why would you do that?
If they put it on Netflix. So
I guess it's free to watch for you, yeah.
Yeah, we already have the subscription, and I was interested. If you don't remember, 65 is it's straight up in the trailer, which is stupid, but it's Adam Driver shooting dinosaurs. The plot is I am not spoiling anything here, and this is part of the problem with the movie and the trailer and all that. Essentially, it's 65 million years ago. Adam Driver is a spaceship pilot. He is transporting people from one place to another. They get hit by an asteroid, and they crash land on Earth. And it's about him and the only other survivor trying to get to their escape pod or whatever and have to fight dinosaurs on their way. They tell you everything about the movie. Like, they tell you, it's like literally you have the whole intro, and then you have you have the very beginning of the movie. It says 65 million years ago, before man walked on Earth, you had monsters or whatever. And then it's like, and then there's the title screen. It says 65 title. And then after a few seconds, million years ago, Earth. It's like, it's the most insulting thing where it's just like, hey, dummies, this is dinosaur land on Earth. It can't just let you see that there's dinosaurs. Like, it's so weird that they decided they needed to tell you these things. And also the whole movie felt like they didn't want to overdo it with the dinosaurs.
But that'd be like Transformers movie not wanting to overdo it on Transformers.
Right. Here we've got Bumblebee, but that's it. No other Transformers, and they're in it for 5 minutes. No, this was, it was more than that. They fight dinosaurs. But it just felt very like, the biggest problem was that it was insultingly obvious. They didn't let the audience, just recognize, oh, they're on Earth.
I'll say this. I have watched one trailer one time for this movie, and the only thing you have told me that I did not already know is that there was a second survivor. Like that's in the trailer too. And that's how simplistic this film clearly is.
Yes.
Is that it's all right there.
I was also like okay with that if it was going to continue being a thing. I thought this could be an Alien situation where it's like, oh, the first time it's unintentional, the second time they're going to explore, and then they all it's dinosaurs or whatever. Dinosaurs is a TV show. Never mind. No, a little different.
Not the mama.
Anyway, but it was like, so spoilers for a movie you probably shouldn't watch because it's not even interesting in a fun way. Like, it's not even like goofy. It's just kind of survival movie where the monsters are dinosaurs. That asteroid they get hit with at the beginning is like a little piece of the asteroid that destroys the dinosaurs.
So they win in the end. Humans 1, dinosaurs 0.
the ticking clock of the movie is that they have to get to their escape pod before that asteroid hits the Earth. And it felt very dumb. Like it felt like it felt like really it just felt like they didn't have confidence.
Yeah, yeah.
They knew it wasn't going. Like it felt like what? Wait, hold on. You could make this a whole franchise. You paid for Adam Driver, which you could have continued, made a cool franchise out of this, but you literally murdered all of your monsters at the end of this movie. It felt like a very strange couple of choices for this kind of movie, where usually this would be a concept that could be just milked for 5 or 6 movies, especially if they all just go to Netflix or something. Like, I was disappointed that they wouldn't make more. It was dumb in a way I didn't want. And also they stopped it before it could have, I like some of the Tremors sequels. They're never as good as the first one, but Tremors continues to be fun because they kind of introduce new ideas into this ridiculous concept. And I really wish they would have done this with 65.
So don't see 65, this movie that I knew I was not going to watch anyway. Got it.
Yep. Fair enough.
I, on Netflix, watched Nimona. This is an animated movie, and I think every Christian should watch Nimona. So Nimona is a movie about this huge city with giant walls. So kind of like I was talking with Warhammer, where...
Oh, this is the author... Isn't this the author that did that one book you were talking about at one point?
Never mind. She did.
Continue.
This is from a graphic novel. I will say that. But anyway, so we start in medieval times, fantasy worlds, and then they realize they're fighting monsters, and they build up this huge city with these massive walls. And then we fast forward to the future times, and so now there's like laser guns and things like that. But there are also still knights and swords and whatnot. And there's one knight who, he's somebody who does not come from royal blood. He's the first knight to go through the knight program as a commoner, and he's about to be knighted for the first time, and his sword turns into a laser gun, and he shoots and kills the queen. And everyone's like, oh, we knew it. And so as he's running, this monster... person, she's a shapeshifter, so there's no real like, she very clearly just says, I'm not anything, I'm just a me, I'm a Nimona. And so it's hard to define her intentionally, which I'll get to in a second here.
Sure.
But she's like, haha, here's a villain I should team up with, I want to be his henchman. And so she seeks him out, and they end up like this weird, sort of buddy cop, good cop, bad cop relationship while he's on the run from the law. Now, this movie has an agenda, in as much as there is very clearly like portrayed and very clearly shown LGBTQ members there. Nimona is very clearly stating how she does not, she uses the she, her pronouns, but does not identify as anything. She uses the phrase, I'm not a people, a lot of times, just this whole mindset of accepting someone for who they are and accepting people despite their cultural status and all this other stuff. It's very clearly in there, not to the detriment. I loved it, but that was a clear message being sent by the movie. But what this movie is really about is an organization that says it fights for the good of people, that says that it wants to be there to save people, but has ostracized a specific people group for so long that now this people group hates them too. And it's about how they have cultivated that anger toward themselves and the consequences they have to face because of this. And then this knight goes out and meets Nimona and befriends her and realizes, wait, she's not the monster that we say she is. She's actually an incredible young woman, and, we love her and she's awesome. And if that isn't exactly the message of the church to the LGBTQ community, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
It's precisely that. And the movie hits it spot on in the way that we have ostracized and demonized. And, I even just recently read somebody calling a drag queen a pervert offhand just because that's their hobby, is being a drag queen. And it's like, no, we have to stop this sort of mindset. Like, we have to stop this. And Nimona, this movie puts it incredibly, just absolutely frames this perfectly. And it's, again, there's an agenda. It's pretty clear that they're putting the church in this one thing, in this aspect of the knighthood and the LGBTQ community on the outskirts of it. That's very clear, but
Yeah.
they do it well. they
that's
they hit it on the head, and it's great.
it is a incorrect mindset to believe that something having a message, even a specific message, makes that thing bad.
Right.
If that is the case, then every single PureFlix movie is bad.
It's bad offhand.
They all have an agenda. They all have
Yeah.
a specific ethical mindset that they want the audience to agree with in order to root for some people and root against some people.
Right.
And
right.
so to say that it has an agenda and therefore is bad is just not how art works. There's very little art, I think, that exists that doesn't have some kind of message that it wants to portray, even if it's something generic.
65.
65 no 65 look no look 65 wants you to think that non-traditional families are just as good.
Oh, okay.
It wants
There
you
you
to
go.
think that it wants you to think that a medical system that makes you pay for treatment for life threatening illnesses is bad. The
Gasp.
the whole idea in 65 is that what's his name, Adam Driver has to take a long 2-year job in order to pay for his daughter's sickness, and she dies while he's gone. And so the child that survives in the ship becomes his surrogate daughter, and he has to protect her. Like, it has a message.
Yeah,
Even if it's most of
absolutely.
it is
Yeah.
just shooting dinosaurs, it still has a message.
Yeah.
So to say that something with a doesn't have a message, or it has a message and is bad because of it, that's just not how art works. And it's
Yeah.
just generally it just means I don't like the message,
Right.
and therefore it has an agenda, and that's bad.
Exactly that.
So we got to be honest with that. So
Yeah,
I want to watch this movie now.
Oh, dude, it's so good. You'll like it. You honestly will. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's redeeming. Like, it's such a good film. And at the end, it kind of does its job to both like to redeem the people who were seen as ostracized and redeem the organization that's seen as the church. Like, it ends with this really great message to both sides. Like, and I don't want to spoil anything, but the end is just, there's so much anger and rage and whatnot. And so there's just,
Yeah,
and the
you've sold
resolution is great.
already.
Yeah. Watch Nimona. Again, I think every Christian should watch Nimona and receive the message that it's trying to tell you as a Christian. So good. Oh, man. All right, that's all I got.
Same.
Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here today. We're so happy you listened to our podcast. Thank you so much for commenting and liking. Let us know in the comments what you think about the Magic the Gathering stuff. Let us know what you think about Nimona if you watch it, or 65 if you watch it. Just let us know what's going on. We genuinely love that each and every one of you were here.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here and just being a part of the conversation that we like to have. Sometimes it's goofy, sometimes it's serious, and sometimes it's a mix of the two. If you have the opportunity to support us in another way, support Save Point Ministries in another way, you can go to Save Point Ministries and donate there. You can follow on Twitch and throw them a subscription or a sub or whatever. Saying it's subscription feels weird because the word sub is used so much. Anyway, you go do that. There are lots of ways to support Save Point, even outside of money as well. Just if you see if Steve posts on if Des posts on Instagram,
I go
share
by
it with
both on
others.
here. It's fine.
You do.
Yeah.
Just tell others about the streams. Tell others about our podcast, all that kind of jazz. And so, thank you very much.
Yeah. Once again, guys, thank you so much for being here. Big thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and So Do Most of My Neighbors, off of the album Dear Sam. For those of you who are in the chat, stick around. We're going to be talking a little bit afterward. Thanks again, guys, and always remember that saved games save lives.
Bye.
My voice sings all night, and this is what my heart sounds like. It's what my heart sounds like. It's what my heart sounds like.
All right, we're back. For those of you in chat, I think it's just Gurkensteel. Gurkensteel. I did want to come in here and just say you sold your entire MTG collection for real. Dang, my dude. That's. I mean, I sold not my whole collection. I sold all my rares of value, bulk rares of value. But I did that to get more Magic cards. So you just looking to don't play anymore, looking to get out of the game. Sold it all off. And yeah, looks like in the chat, oh, just you, Gurkensteel. That's fine though. What made you want to come to that place? Fox and I are just getting back into it. Oh, yeah, needed a car, almost went homeless, so that's a good reason.
Yeah, that's a very reasonable. Good idea.
Yeah, when I sold, this is my second sort of bouts of selling through bulk value rares. This is my second time doing it. The first time I did it because we had medical bills and we were running behind on them, so I sold like $1,000 worth of cards and paid off some medical bills. So yeah, no, I get it.
Cool system.
Yeah. Cool system. Anyway.
Next thing you know, you're gonna have to take a 2-year flight job and then end up fighting dinosaurs on some other Earth.
Deal. I'll take it. Well, chat, hey, thank you all for hanging out. Gurkensteel, thanks for being here today. Like Fox was already saying, remember that this is a part of Save Point Ministries' overall stuff. If you do want to keep the conversation going, we are on Discord. Our Discord is now open for anybody who wants to go and join it. So come jump in our Discord community. We'd love to have you there just to chat and whatever else. That being said, thank you guys for being here again. We love that each and every one of you were here today, but always remember that there is a church out there that would love it if you were there. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.